Hey guys, Eric Knight here. Today is December 15th, 2012, and we are just one day after the horrific tragedy affecting those out in Connecticut, the elementary school shooting. I originally didn't really want to touch on this because I believe it's almost one of those controversial issues, but I wanted to share some of my thoughts and touch on the idea of gun control. And to start off, this is horrible. It's a sick tragedy. What a coward. Unbelievable. Events like this just really piss me off beyond belief. I just don't understand what pushes a person to that extent where they have to go out and kill a bunch of innocent people, especially little kids. I mean, it's just so sick, so wrong. It's horrible. And my thoughts and prayers are completely with those families of loved ones lost. I think it's horrible, and I can't imagine what you're going through right now. The way that I originally found out about this tragedy was just looking at social media. I had checked my Facebook, and that's all you saw. People were mourning the tragedy. And what really bothered me more than anything, and this is no different than prior incidents like the Aurora, Colorado shootings, was there's a handful of these individuals on the left that are coming out, not really addressing the tragedy itself, but jumping to conclusions, calling for an all-out ban on guns or just insanely strict gun control. So I wanted to touch on that and share some of my opinions. It seems to me like we've had more shootings, especially over the last couple of years, or, just recently. I think there was a shooting earlier this week. A couple of weeks back, we had that shooting with the guy from the NFL that killed himself as well as his girlfriend. And obviously, Aurora, Colorado, we had that tragedy. And I begin to wonder, is it a fact that crime rates are up and we have more and more of these gun-related crimes? Or are we just giving these more publicity than we once did? I don't know. But I think that there's a lot of people that are automatically jumping to conclusions before we have all the facts of what actually happened in these events, or at least this last event. Now, I don't know how the guy got the gun or the guns. I bought a gun a year ago, and when I went through this process, just the background check they run on me probably took at least 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't have any type of criminal record or background. And I thought it was a pretty easy process. I was surprised it didn't take that long. However, they ran a very extensive background check on me. And again, I don't have anything in my past that would indicate that I should not own a gun. Now, what I want to know is, where did this sick individual get the gun or the guns? Is it one of those things where, he just drives by like a McDonald's drive-through and one-stop shop, in and out, 5-10 minutes, gets an assault rifle, loads himself very heavily, and in and out, down to the school just to go and kill a bunch of people? Did he steal the gun from somebody else? Where did he get it? What are the facts surrounding the situation? Why is it that in cities, say, take Chicago for instance, I think they have some of the strictest gun laws in our country, yet they still have the worst crime rates? And if you look at areas that are heavily armed, why are the crime rates lower? What really bothers me about the issue of gun control is I really don't know if people understand why we as citizens do have the right to bear arms in this country. I don't think it was with the intent that people just want to go out and do some hunting. My best interpretation of the Second Amendment is we had just won a war. We had separated ourselves from the tyranny that we were under for years. And I believe our founders and framers knew that this would be an issue that would arise again in the future. And the citizens that are armed can actually rise up and defend themselves against tyranny should we ever face it again. Now, I believe in this country, we already are nearly under a form of tyranny. I do believe Barack Obama, now this is my opinion, I do believe that he does want to disarm the public. I believe the shootings will continue. I believe they're going to get a lot of publicity. And I'm not saying that these shootings and tragedies shouldn't get publicity. But are we focusing on mourning the individuals lost, or are we looking for a way to make this political? If the citizens in this country are disarmed, that's the last step towards tyranny. I believe that the Second Amendment that we have in this country pretty much solidifies all your other rights and liberties in this country. If we can't stand up and defend ourselves, what's next? I believe we would be headed into more of a police state. We'd be under martial law. You know, you can be the biggest, the strongest, and the toughest guy in the world, yet if you can't defend yourself, if you got the gun to your face, it's just like that bull being drug around with a ring in his nose. Doesn't matter how big or how tough you are, you're nobody. They're just going to push you around, and they can do whatever they want at that point. We would be under authoritarian rule. You wouldn't have rights. You wouldn't be able to stand up and have your right to free speech without being smacked down. If you look at the liberties that we've lost since 9/11/2001, I've touched on this a little bit before, but it's escalating. They're taking more liberties away, and it's very concerning. But I believe once the public is disarmed, it would put coffin nails in liberty, period. So that is my biggest concern. I just feel that a lot of times we are automatically jumping to the conclusions without understanding all the facts that surround these individuals. So, you know, but I would like to know, what does cause somebody to go over the edge? You know, are these people on drugs? It seems like today we're promoting medications, and, you know, everybody's got to be taking some sort of pill. You got all these antidepressants, you got all these kids taking Ritalin, or they have ADD. Who knows? I mean, but we're feeding people this garbage. And you can't tell me it doesn't have an effect on the individual. Was this person tormented? What was his background like? Did he have mental problems? What was the real cause? I believe that guns are just a means to an end. The guns don't shoot themselves. The gun doesn't have a mind of its own. You know, I also look at events like September 11th, whatever your take is on it, and I actually do want to do a video blog on that here in the near future. But say, for instance, that the pilots in that cockpit were armed. What do you think stands a better chance? The box cutter or the 9mm? Maybe we could have saved 3,000 lives that day if the pilots were armed. Maybe not, but I believe there's a good possibility that we could if they could defend themselves. But then you got to look at that issue, the knife killings, the box cutters. Do we ban box cutters because we lost 3,000 lives? Because people were able to take us over with box cutters? Does that sound like a realistic possibility? People kill people. It's that simple. Sick, twisted, crazy individuals kill people. But guns offer us a way to defend ourselves, our liberties, our freedoms. I just really wish people would understand that. So these are my opinions. I hope and pray that we don't lose our right to bear arms, because everything else will be lost as a result. And I believe that we do live in a society that plays us on our fears. If we create enough fear, it's easy to strip people of their liberties. They'll give them up. You know, it's almost like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And again, this is one of those opportunities. And we've seen more and more of this. And I believe it will continue until finally we put the coffin nails in and we strip the right to bear arms. And I hope that doesn't happen, because when that happens, it's going to be chaos. And you also got to remember, the criminals aren't going to be the ones that turn in their guns. It's going to be the law-abiding citizens, the people that follow the rules. And then it's a feeding frenzy. It'd be a lot easier to go and kick down somebody's door not knowing you're going to be met with a shotgun in the face or be shot down. So, but again, especially coming into this holiday season, my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those lost. A horrible tragedy, and I only hope, especially with these young children, that they can rebuild their lives and it doesn't ruin them completely. So my thoughts and prayers definitely do go out to these individuals. So we'll leave it at that today. Those are my opinions. Feel free to post your comments. Thank you for tuning in. We will have much, much more to talk about here in the near future.